people might get upset about this video, but I don't give a shit. I'm gonna speak my piece, and I'm gonna keep it all the way above. So, earlier today, me and a coworker were having a conversation about an individual, a security guard. And, you know, I was explaining to my coworker why I don't use that bathroom where the security guard works, because he has a nasty attitude. So I go elsewhere to use the restroom. Now, for all those who don't know, my parents are Hispanic. I could be considered Hispanic, but I don't consider myself to be Hispanic. I consider myself to be Garifuna, which is another story. I'll explain it a little later. So he commences to make a remark that went in the lines like, you know how those black motherfuckers are. I immediately got offended. And I was like, wait. Slow it down. You crossing the line. So he says to me, why are you offended? You're not black. So I had to explain it to him. For his information, I am black. I don't know what type of eyeballs you're using, but I am black. He says, you're not black, you're Hispanic. Listen, my man, I am black. Before anything, I am black. Before I open my mouth, I'm black. And the fact that my parents derive from a Hispanic country doesn't take away from the fact that I'm black. And I am tired of the disrespect towards African Americans. And I'm going to tell you why. How dare you come to this country and reap the benefits of the things that African Americans fought for. People lost their lives in order for me, my mother, my father, my siblings to come here. In order to allow me to be born here, my mother had to come here and work and reap the benefits of the things that African Americans fought for and died for. You understand what I'm saying? It's disgusting to me that someone would come here and because they speak a different language or, you know, they have the certain drive to do certain things, they look down on African Americans. That's disgusting. Why? And I'm going to explain it to you. African Americans were slaves for over 400 years in this country. Now, people say slavery. Oh, let me explain to you in depth what slavery was for African Americans. Slavery was rape of women, children, and men. 18-hour work days, 7 days a week. Slavery means people were lynched. That means when someone ties a rope around your neck and hangs you from a tree until your neck snaps. Black people were burned to death. Women were raped, gang raped by their masters because they belonged to them. They were property. They weren't human beings. Children were raped. Men were raped. And I'm going to take it even further. Do you guys know where the word motherfucker comes from? The word motherfucker comes from, if I'm not mistaken, from breeding farms that they used to have in Virginia. A breeding farm is a place where they would breed black people. Because they didn't want to spend any more money on buying them, they started breeding them. So if I was a strong slave and my mother was a strong slave, they would make me sleep with my mother to have a child. They would put me to sleep with my mother, my sister. That's what used to go on during slavery. That is what African Americans had to go through. Now, after slavery, hey, things are supposed to be peaches and cream. Absolutely not. Black people weren't allowed to work, and if they did work, it had to be manual work at almost to no pay. People were still being lynched, dragged out of their house in the middle of the night, and hung from trees, burned alive. Women walking from the store, just snatched up and raped, gang raped by white men, and then killed. People's houses was burned down. This happened for over 100 years after slavery. African Americans just got all of us of color the ability to vote 50-something years ago. Because after slavery, African Americans were not allowed to vote for anything. You didn't have any rights. And reap the benefits of the shit that African Americans endured and worked and died for. That is disgusting. And I don't think that it is right for someone to come here and have that type of mentality and that type of attitude. And they don't even know the history of the people that made it possible for you to come here and have the type of job that you have. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if African Americans did not stand up for themselves and stand up for what was right, I would not be able to drive a bus. My son would not be able to go to the school where he goes to now. A lot of people of color would not be allowed to drink at a certain fountain. During Jim Crow, blacks were not allowed to live in certain neighborhoods. Blacks couldn't eat in certain restaurants. These are the things that African Americans fought hard for. In order for us to be able to sit in the front of the bus, because back then, a black person couldn't sit in the front of a bus. And even if a black person was sitting in the back, if a white person came on the bus, legally, by law, the black person had to give them their seat. And so, for a Hispanic person to come up to me and tell me, why are you so upset? You're not black. That enrages me and it offends me. And I automatically put him in his place. One, because I am black. And just because yo hablo español no significa que yo me puedo put myself aside porque yo vivo en este país. I live in this country. I grew up with African Americans. I love them. I respect them. Yes, they are African Americans that don't do shit, don't want to do shit. Don't want to go to school, don't want to work. They don't want to do shit. But let me inform you, there are Hispanics who don't want to go to school, who don't want to work, who want to be criminals, who are criminals. There are ancient people with every type of ethnic or racial background. So for you to sit here and talk like you have a bunch of jewels in your culture, my nigga, shut the fuck up. So, with that being said, I'm going to tell y'all this. Educate yourself. Have some respect. Know your own history. And know the history of the people that you're judging and making comments about.